Good evening,
Yeah.
Can we go?
Yep.
Good evening, Sandtown membership.
Good
Hope
evening.
all is well. Glad you guys could join us today. I apologize. For some reason, I can't get the Zoom link to launch on my computer, but it's on my phone. So is Pastor McNary on the line? If he is not, Donald, would you go ahead and open us up with prayer?
Sure. Heavenly
Okay.
Father, thank you for allowing us to join together again today. Thank you for all that you've done, all the energy that you have given us for the betterment of Sandtown community. Heavenly Father, as we strive to do better, we ask that you to continue to guide us in the right way. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much. We're gonna go. I want to welcome you again to our meeting. Marilyn Lee is not here, so I'll speak a little bit about the membership. If you all want to join the association, you're welcome to do so by going on our website at www.sandtown.org. You can join as an individual at $25. You can join as a family, I think it's 40 or 45, and as a community, 50. And the money that we collect on dues allows us to pay for all of the technology that we have. And when we were meeting in person, like at some of the churches and that type of thing, we try to make a donation to the churches, even though they don't charge us. We want to be good stewards and make donations to the churches who allow us to meet. Is police and fire on the call?
Yes, police is here. Sergeant Gibbons is here with you guys.
All right, Sergeant Gibbons, welcome. Would you go ahead and give us a report?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Just real quick, give you the last couple of weeks stats as it pertains to the Sandtown community. The robbery is down for the 2022 year as compared to the 2021 year. There's been 0 this year of those. I'm sorry, the murders, I apologize. Murders, there's been 0 murders. There's been a 60% increase in the robberies from last year date to today's present date. The burglaries, it's an overall 71% increase is from year to date. The auto thefts is at an 11% increase, but overall in the District 1 area, crime is down by 14.5%. Just some quick reminders about some of these larcenies from vehicles because they're up 30%. You guys know it's coming up to the Christmas holiday season. Please just be aware of your surroundings when you're out shopping and when you're parking your cars at home. Don't leave anything of value on the seats that's visible. Coats, laptop bags, cell phone chargers, cell phones, wallets, keys, anything that anyone can actually just see inside the car, bust the windows and take. Please be mindful that all those things need to be taken out of the car. Also, the larcenies is up 27%. And what that means is, again, it's coming up to the holiday season. So when you start buying those big ticket items, those televisions, computers, laptops, and all those things, don't put those boxes on the side of the streets when you're disposing of them. I know it sounds a bit like a pain in the butt, but tear those boxes up and start to put them in the trash, small pieces at a time, or go to a recycling center. We have one over on Merck Road where we can take those big items instead of putting them on the side of the streets, because all that does is just allow these criminals that sometimes rise through the neighborhoods to target your homes and your vehicles. We have a fish fry that's planned for November the 11th at fire station number 8. It's over on Ridge Road. That's going to be a Veterans Day celebration. And also we're going to have a elder abuse awareness and prevention meeting. It's going to be hosted by the Code Enforcement Division and the PD. It's going to be at 915 New Hope Road. That's going to be on November the 9th, on Wednesday, from I believe 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. I believe Brian Mars is on the call, so he may elaborate on that a little bit more. Overall, again, crime is down in District 1 about 14%. Is there any questions that anybody may have for me or anything at this time?
Any questions for Officer Gibbons? I see. Well, thank you, Officer Gibbons, for that information. Mr. Mars, do you have any comments you want to make?
Yes, ma'am. Hey, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well today. Brian Morris, Code Enforcement Director for the City of South Fulton. And just a brief couple items that I'd like to just bring to the community's attention. One, we are constantly working on demolitions and abatements, and it is part of our fight against blight program that we actively pursue, and we're just, reclaiming neighborhoods one house at a time. So we have a few coming up here. Even when we don't demo a property, we've implemented an abatement process that allows us to cut the grass or remove the trash a little bit faster, because our demolition process can take months and months and months because it's a lengthy legal process. You have to notify, heirs, uncles, cousins, grandmothers, anybody that has an interest in that property. So we've implemented something that allows us to get some violations remedied a little bit quicker. So we've been having some great success with that in all districts, including District 1. Short-term rentals, we are still knocking those down where the city does allow short-term rentals, commonly known as, we just call them, Airbnbs for short, right? But the legal term is a short-term rental. They are allowed in the city, but they are taxed and regulated. So like I say, we've knocked down that number of unregulated short-term rentals from, 600s down to near close to 100, and we're dropping quickly. So we're just regulating that because we want to make sure that anybody that does come into the city and does operate an Airbnb, while it is legal, we want to make sure that you're not throwing parties, you're not doing anything that you shouldn't be doing that cause a nuisance to the neighborhood. So we're actively working on that, keeping those numbers down. Another kind of a big item, a big deal for us that recently passed was our sign ordinance that the Councilmember Rowell sponsored that ordinance. And what it does for us is we are in the midst of election season now. Thank goodness it's over in a couple of days. Because for us, for many reasons, but for us, from a code enforcement standpoint, it's an extreme headache for us dealing with those political signs. What happens is that many times the winners of the election don't pick up a sign because they won, and the losers of the election don't pick up a sign because they lost, right? So we're stuck with that, and as a community, it makes the neighborhood look bad, right? And it causes copycats, because if you have 10 political signs out, then Joe buys cars is going to put his sign out as well. So with the new ordinance that recently passed and will come into effect in the next election cycle, not this election cycle, but it will prohibit any sign from the right of way, including political signs. So it's going to kind of raise the bar a little bit for candidates to be more creative in their advertisement and their campaigning, but it keeps our cities in better shape. And then also another hazard that comes with that, a lot of times we found that the signs would be stuffed and thrown down our storm drains. So it creates, we got public works on right here, it creates a problem for the city in general. In the stormwater and flooding and things like that. So we're looking forward to enforcing that come a next election cycle, but we will be typically what we do is we give after the election season, we issue an email to all candidates that we can locate through the Secretary of State and let them know, hey, you got a week to come pick up your signs, win or lose, come pick up your signs, please. And at that point, if they don't, then we'll partner with Public Works. They'll chip in a bit, and we'll just go pick them up that following week. So you guys will see them out there again for next week. And then that following week, which is the week of the 14th, which is when we begin to remove those signs that have not been removed. So that's political signs. Campbellton Road, we are working on, there are a few properties, we've seen some progress, but there are a few properties that we're working on. On Campbellton Road, we want to clean up those thoroughfares, make sure that when people come through the city, through those main arteries, that they are presentable and look good and represent the community as we would want them to. So we're actively working on those main thoroughfares as well as items in the neighborhood. We encourage everyone to use See-Click-Fix. I'm sure many of you have heard of it or use it, but please continue to utilize that because you all are our eyes and ears when it comes to our violations. So if you see something in your neighborhood, please report it and we will be prompt in responding, and we'll make sure we get that taken care of as soon as possible. And then finally, I do want to kind of give a little kudos to our department. We were recently awarded a national award for some of the programs that we have done here in the city of South Fulton. Some of our innovations that we brought to the city. So we were awarded an award from the American Association of Code Enforcement, which is a national organization, as well as a Metro Atlanta organization, Turnkey Solutions, just for some of the innovative work we do in the community, reaching out in unorthodox ways for code enforcement. So very proud of my team for that. And finally, as Sergeant Gibbons mentioned, we are hosting a senior abuse awareness seminar hosted by Monica Pearson that will be at Southwest Arts Center. We're opening doors at 3:30 on November 9th. That's a Wednesday, up until 6 p.m. And what that is designed to do is just to make our residents, our seniors aware, and anybody that's a caregiver. It's not just for seniors because, you know, we often fall victim to scams and frauds and things like that that are prevalent. So that's open for the community. We encourage everyone to come out. Again, hosted by Monica Pearson, and it's going to be a lot of information from GBI to U.S. attorneys that are coming out to just high-ranking people that are very much on the forefront of combating fraud and scams and abuse against seniors. There'll be a lot of great vendors out, so we welcome the Sandtown community and all of your neighbors to come out and join us on the night. And with that, I'll open for questions if anybody has any.
I have one, and thank you for that information. Help me to understand with the Airbnbs. You said you all knock it down or knocked it down from 600 to 100. You mean you've eliminated that type of thing, or tell me what that means.
Okay, sure. So initially, when we started the program a year and a half ago, we had over 600, we've known 635, give or take, unlicensed, unregistered Airbnbs in the city.
Okay.
And through that enforcement, we've been able to get them either licensed or to remove that Airbnb from the listing, to stop posting and stop advertising and stop listing. So we reduced it, by 500 unlicensed, unregistered Airbnbs.
Oh, okay. Now I understand. Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions of Mr. Bryan? Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you attending the meeting. Is Chief Jones on the line? Or a representative from fire? I know he accepted, but I don't see that he's on there. So we will go ahead and welcome Ms. Francesca Warren to give us an update on the schools.
Good evening, everyone. We are still in the midst of instructional calendars and redistricting. I shared with you guys when I was here last time, the redistricting in South Fulton is pretty massive. We are correcting some of the zoning that happened about 8 to 10 years ago, where students were put in other schools and they were closer to other schools, mainly the Banneker zone, the achievement zone. And so we have proposed 3 maps. There's a final map that has come out, and we are awaiting for November 8th for that final map to be there. All of our high schools, Westlake High School is built for about 1,900 kids, 18 to 1,900 kids. It currently has 2,450 children there. We have been spending the last couple of months making sure that everybody who attends there lives in the zone, putting kids back at their home school. And so we have spent, through this proposed redistricting, we are making the Westlake zone a little bit more central, a little bit more centered onto people who live closest to Westlake. So we anticipate with this rezoning, about 300 to 400 kids will move to either Langston Hughes High School, or depending on where they live, Banneker High School. There's been lots of feedback in the community. And ultimately, right now, if you go into any classroom at Westlake High School, there's about 40 plus kids in a class. And when we look at all of the redevelopment that's happening in the area and all the planned developments, we anticipate for children to continue to be enrolled. And so as we redistrict students, we have just been really trying to make sure that all of the kids who do not live in the zone, who are living using other people's addresses, and that just so to make sure that our numbers are right. So it's been a really tedious process, but we're to the point where we're down to 1 map. And that map will be presented the final map will be presented to us next Tuesday. In addition, we have been working to update our 2-year calendars. There have been a lot of people who have said, we want a fall break for our families. And so we are working to see if that is a possibility. Really, redistricting is the hot topic. So I'm sure someone will have a question and or concern. So I'll pause for a second and see if anybody wants to ask a question.
Go ahead. I thought I heard someone.
Debbie, I have a question.
Sure.
I think Ms. Warren said that some of the classes have as many as 40 students in them.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, I know that the North County and the South County seem to be almost like in 2 different countries. But do we have that problem throughout Fulton County schools, or is it just the schools in the South? And if so, is that a failure to properly plan, or how do you account for if there is a discrepancy or a difference?
Absolutely. So in North County, they have more high schools, they have more students who attend there. So I would have to pull the numbers. Let's say, for example, there's 50,000 kids who go to school in North County. There are 30,000 kids who go to school down here. So the reason why there's so many schools is that when there was a 2000 boom and people moving up north, there were tons of schools that were built down up there. What you're seeing in North County is that they have a lot of open space. Their schools are not full, many of them. And so in South County, we have the opposite problem. We have less kids because we have some kids who go to school in North County. And so with that, we have fewer high schools. Our planning department, Ms. Ingrid Huff, she's actually a parent at Westlake. We anticipate, based on this last census and just the swell of development that is coming and has come, we anticipate later on down the road for us building new schools. But really, it's a numbers game. One of the things that if you look up at North County, you look at North Springs, you look at Riverwood, you look at Cambridge, you look at Milton, you look at Centennial, you look at Northview, and I think I'm missing 1 or 2 more. You look at all of those schools, Westlake is the biggest high school in the area, but Westlake isn't the biggest high school in the area necessarily because of kids who live in zone. What we have found out these last couple of months is that there are several people who are letting kids use their address. We had kids as far away as Douglas County, Henry County, City of Atlanta, trying to falsify documents to come to school at Westlake. So as we turn those kids over, and as we look at that, We do anticipate Westlake to get back to probably about 2,000 kids, which is manageable for our numbers. But down the road, we will need to build new schools, absolutely. But it's really a numbers game.
It's a puzzlement to me because if you're saying, at least I understood you to say that several Westlake students are going north, or kids in the South are going north.
Mm-hmm.
It would seem to me then that they would be experiencing some. I mean, to me, it looks like the whole problem is, and I know you're not saying this, but it's a failure to plan for the growth in this community. And we have sat around and let this happen.
Yeah, I think that so if I look at A. Philip Randolph, they have 400 kids. They should have technically about 700. If I look at Sandtown, they're at about 1,000, and really their building should hold about 1,100. If I look at Stonewall Tail, they have about 690 kids. Their building should hold about 740. If I look at, I'm trying to think of another school in Westlake Zone, Camp Creek Middle School. Camp Creek can hold 700 kids. Right now, they're at about 500. So we have space in our schools. And I hear what you're saying, and I do agree that we need to build more schools, but we also have to fill the ones that we have. I think Westlake cost us $60 million to build. And minus the children, minus the development that's coming, and minus the children that we have, we anticipate that as we continue to move kids out of the school, that we'll settle at about 1,900 to 2,000 kids. And going forward, making sure that registration is at a central location so that we can address some of the people who do not live in Fulton County who are trying to attend Westlake. The lack of planning, I don't know if until this last census and this boom in people in the building and people moving to the area, that's where we've really seen the massive growth. And that's why I predict in the next couple of capital plans, we will be building new schools. But the surrounding schools around Westlake are not to capacity.
Yeah,
It's
but we're
just
talking
Westlake High
about
School.
we're talking about middle schools. We need to be, when you list the schools before in the north, I think you listed around 6 or 7. I believe all those were high schools.
They were, yep.
Okay, so to compare this, and then you mentioned middle schools, that's not where the problem is. The problem is in the high school, and we all know that there are generally more behavioral problems in high school. So you got an overcrowded situation, which may be aggravating it. It's almost like you set up a situation where you will get a negative outcome.
Mm-hmm. I agree with what you're saying. I agree that we are booming in population, but I was using the feeder schools, and that the kids who go to the feeder schools would be the students who would go into Westlake. And what we're seeing is that it's not kids from the feeder schools, it's not kids from the community, it's not even kids from Fulton County. So when we pulled our last list of students who were at Westlake and we started to dig deep into their registration, these are kids who are not even in Fulton County who are attending Westlake. And so as you look at the data and you spring down to it, Westlake, everybody cannot go. Everybody cannot go to Westlake High School. But if you're in the feeder elementary and middle schools, that's a clear indication. I'll give you an example. Right now, between Sandtown Middle School and Camp Creek Middle School, the only 2 middle schools zoned for Westlake, there are roughly about 450 kids. The freshman class at Westlake has 730 kids. Magnet only has 500 kids, so it's not Magnet students. So as we started to pull back registration and going through and looking at kids, what we found is that people were letting other people use their addresses, and people who did not live in the zone should not have been there. But we will, as we look at this boom in housing and building, we will need to build more schools. But right now, the problem with Westlake overcrowding is that we have a lot of issues happening around registration, and also of people who do not live in Fulton County. There's a comment that says you should probably have more people attending Westlake High School. This should not be there. We actually get a private school report of every child who's supposed to be. We follow the kids. So we know if you're zoned for Westlake, if you're at North Springs, or if you're at Riverwood, or if you're at another school. And we roughly have, that's only about 200 kids that are not there. So it's a numbers game. Um, and as we go through and as we plan for the next couple of years, as we rebuild Camp Creek and rebuild some of the schools, and as we transition kids to other schools, there will be a conversation about building another high school. But we don't want to rezone people out of the district before making sure that people who are not taxpayers are not there, are there, and not supposed to be there.
Well, one of the things, Ms. Warren, you said some of the kids will, they need to go to Langston Hughes and all of that. I had a person to ask me about, there's a part of District 1 that is being rezoned where the kids normally would go to Westlake, but they're going to Tri-Cities, but you did mention that in your comments. So is that the case? There is some kids that are kind of on the tip of our zone 1 and 2, near 285, that is going to be rezoned to Tri-Cities.
So we have students who are at Fairburn Road, right there at the start of City of South Fulton. And those students for the last 8 years have been at Tri-Cities. So in the last high school redistricting, they were sent there 8 years ago because actually Gail Dean is their board rep. And so they were sent there about 8 years ago. So what they want to come into Westlake. And so our contention is that at this point, with the developments that are coming, we can't accommodate anyone else. We do have a slide of kids who are in some apartments on Cascade Road towards the end. I'm not sure, they've always been at Westlake. I'm not sure what they're gonna look like after these final maps are adopted, but we do have people at the very top. And if you look at the redistricting maps, you'll see from the top, from the side to the bottom, we've had to carve out to make room for people. So it is true, absolutely. And as we're going through, and I'll go back to what we were talking about around the growth in the area. One of the things that we've been talking to parents about is as we continue to grow around our schools and as certain areas, I get calls all the time about infrastructure, streets, the street in front of Westlake, like people are, where it's so much traffic. And one of the things that we have to look at, as we know our population is booming, is awful infrastructure around the school. Van Diver, we have going into Westlake from Campbellton Road. So we have some concerns just as school board around some of that, about complaints that we have. But as we're going through and looking at that, so people will come and people will say, well, can we just let these students in? It's only 8 students, it's only 10 students. Can they not get into Westlake? And we have other communities who are the same way. And we've had to hold tight to our redistricting criteria, because if not, we'll look up in 2 more years and Westlake will be even more overcrowded. So it's been a hard process. And one of the things that we have to do is, parents call me all the time and say, my child is at Westlake. It's taking them 45 minutes to eat lunch because there's so many kids. Or my children are at Westlake and my child cannot move classes. There's not one space in a class for my child to move their pathway. And so as we do this and this kind of difficult conversations that we're having, it's just difficult. It's difficult for everybody involved. One of the things that we will do, though, and this is one of the concessions we make in the process of redistricting, if you are a 10th grader, 11th grader, or 12th grader, and you get redistricted, you can stay at Westlake if you have your own transportation. And so we estimate about half of students will do that. And that gives parents an out so they don't have to change their child mid-year. But it is something that has to be done. It's difficult, but it has to be done.
Debbie, I have a question.
Sure.
Am I the only one that's hearing another noise, another voice? If so, then if anybody has something that's audio that's coming through, would they kind of cut it off? Because I can hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it also.
And it's a nuisance.
Well, hold on, y'all. Just a second. It may be coming from another room in where I am. Hold on. I muted myself. Did y'all hear it?
I don't hear that now.
I don't hear it.
No, when you muted, it went away.
Okay, so
Are you taking questions yet?
You can go ahead, Councilwoman Rao.
So I just want to make sure I understand. Are you saying that the attendance zone may be expanding in terms of who might be going to Tri-City further down Cascade? Because the only apartments on Cascade, we have 3 apartment complexes together, but you got a whole lot of houses in between there.
Yeah, so what we're doing, I'm not saying it's expanding. I'm saying those kids in the apartments past Elizabeth already go to Westlake. And so they
Right.
were on the last map. It was suggested they go to Tri-Cities. But that's not something I'm necessarily in agreement with because those kids are closer to Westlake and they've always been at Westlake. So that I'm not saying we're going to expand the Tri-City zone. But what I am saying is that those students who live at the top of District 1, they've been at they've been at Tri-Cities for 8+ years. So those are the ones that we've had lots of feedback from the community about them wanting to go into Westlake.
Do you know how many numbers are in that actual area? Because most of that area is commercial. I'm just, do you have any numbers for the number that are currently impacted?
For right now, the residents are reporting between 8 and 10, but what's happening is that there's a lot of buying and selling happening over there and I can't think of the name of the subdivision. So I'm not sure, but Ingrid has those numbers and she can give you that specifically.
You're saying only 8 to 10 children?
Only 8 to 10 children, absolutely, as of right now. It was a community with residents who were retired. And so what they're seeing is a resurgence of young families moving into that area.
Because the only one that I can think of could be
Shuttle's Landing.
Shuttle's Landing, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the name of it. I had to think about that. And one of the things that
and you have also one subdivision that I'll correct right next to Kroger. I guess then they would be zoned for Tri-Cities as well. You have a whole subdivision immediately to the right of the Kroger's Plaza inside the perimeter.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to look at the maps, but if they've been zoned, if they attend Tri-Cities right now, then they would probably rezone it after this redistricting. It just matters on what the small tweaks will be on the map on the 8th.
Okay. And I just want to clarify, I was saying based on the information you shared about what's going on the surrounding middle schools, you're absolutely right. Listen to those numbers. You wouldn't expect the numbers to jump like that at Westlake. So you're right to try to look them, see what's going on in terms of who's registering.
Yeah.
And who's in the building. So
yeah,
I
and
think that makes a lot of sense.
And that's what makes, and one of the things that we have found, because I'll give you an example for my zone, from just my district for Fulton County. When we did the census and we did reapportionment for my district, I was over 20,000 people in my district. So on the top of my district, I have all of Westlake, Langston, and parts of Creekside. At the top, Miss Dean has a portion of Fairburn Road. And then Miss Dove had Welcome and a small area that went to Westlake. As we reapportioned our districts, they had to start with me because all the growth happened in my area. So I had to work with Miss Dove to give away about 20 to, I don't know the exact number, but it was about 20 to 30,000 residents. So that, because each district in Fulton County Schools for board members, we try to balance them so they have about the same. And so when you look at growth, a lot of the growth was happening in parts of the city of South Fulton, but also in Fairburn, the Fairburn area. And so as I had to reapportion that, I could have given Miss Dean, she could have came down further and taken more of Sandtown, or I could have given Miss Dove some of most of Union City, and Summit City of South Fulton. So as we looked at how we did those maps and we reapportioned those, it tells you where the growth is. And so when parents are saying, if I even think about Langston Hughes was built for about, it's bigger, it's about 20,000 more square feet than Westlake because they have a mechanics wing. And so when you look at, they have about 1,900 students, they can clear about 2,100 students. And then you have Tri-Cities where they have just gotten an expansion. So now they're an older model school, but they can accommodate about 2,000 kids. And so as we're going through and shifting kids around, also paying attention to that. But another important point, because I don't know if this is common knowledge, Tri-Cities and Banneker is a newer building. Banneker is built for about 1,900 to 2,000 also. Tri-Cities has about 2. They both collectively have about 400 to 500 each collective open seats. So when we talk about building new schools, as we fill those up, then you make the case to say, based on these hotspots, this is where we need to build schools at. So when we talk about rebuilding Camp Creek Middle School, there was a conversation on, do we want to make it smaller? And I said no, because there's a lot of building happening over there. And we have a lot of students at Sandtown, and depending on where you live, Camp Creek is an option for people to go to. So it's a lot, but this redistricting is literally, it's, some parents are not happy, some parents are happy, but our main goal is trying to make sure we identify kids who should not be there, A, and B, make sure that we're not overcrowding the schools with 40 in a class. And then looking long term, we have a couple of new schools that are coming. I mentioned Camp Creek. There's a school over off Old National. There's a school in East Point, but also thinking about what does it look like if we if we build another school in the next capital plan. So all of those things to happen, we want to make sure that we fill the schools. And my last point is, if somebody will ask this, they'll say, well, North County has a lot of open seats. The student population is declining up there. So when they have open seats and they built all those schools years ago, it was because they thought they were going to fill all of the seats. But what is happening is that their student population is declining and ours is continuing to grow.
Debbie, can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
First of all, I want to thank you, Ms. Warren, for trying to get Westlake from being so overcrowded. Years and years ago, when we first started trying to get a new Westlake, they promised us it would be built for $1,450, but it ended up being built for $1,850. So it ended up being overcrowded from our perspective from the time that it opened. Also, we have had some staff people and board people, principals and all, that knew that Westlake was overcrowded. 2 or 3 years ago, they knew it. And even the administrators would say things like, yeah, we know they're out of zone, but they're good kids. That is not the point. There is not one principal in North County that would let 200 or 300 out of zone kids stay in their school. So I am so glad that you're making an effort to get kids out of the school. I think one of the problems is that the Westlake community has been so involved in trying to make Westlake a good school that other people in South County want to come. Well, the solution to that is to improve the other high schools, not overcrowd the one that is doing well. Even though the elementary and middle schools may not be overcrowded, I think it is well to be proactive and plan for another high school in South County. I realize there are more people in North County, but they don't have twice as many, but they've got twice as many high schools. So we definitely need another high school in South County. And unfortunately, one of the areas that they closed we used to have a high school where on Lakeshore Drive years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So now you don't have anything between Westlake and Tri-Cities, and a lot of the population is there. Also, the growth is happening out West Stubbs, Cascade, Palmetto. We need another high school. When North County was growing the way South County is growing now, they were opening 3 and 4 schools a year. And why hasn't that same kind of effort gone into what we need in South County? And I'm gonna be real honest. I think one of the reasons they got so many is because they thought they were gonna have Milton County and they would have everything they needed. But the point is, now we are short of schools. Also, as you all go to redistricting, and I know you know this, there's some criteria that they look at. Those people who are inside 285 on Washington Road, I don't really care how many slots are still available at Westlake, even though they really aren't. But there are some things like natural boundaries, like highways and rivers and things like that. Just from a practical perspective, nobody inside of 285 should be coming all the way out to Westlake. I think we need to protect the integrity of our student body. And then the last thing I want to say is, years and years ago, they used to have what they call a weighted criteria for staff in schools and for the size of the student body. And right now, everybody's just looking at numbers. But there were times at Westlake where in any given day, 10 kids were enrolling and 10 kids were leaving. It was such a transient community. They looked at things like student body, how many kids were on free and reduced lunch. They looked at things. It's called a mobility rate, kids coming in and going out. So you can't just look at numbers, in my opinion. You cannot staff a school with 2,000 kids and everybody's on grade level and the mobility rate is 2%, like you staff a school where you've got half of the kids that are not on grade level and you've got a mobility rate of 60 and 70%, which is what some of the schools in South County have. So I wish we could get away from just looking at numbers, but looking at the types of students that we are serving. And I think if we looked at other criteria like the needs of the student body, we could more than justify another high school. Probably would need 2 of them, but we don't need 2,000 at-risk kids at any school just because a school somewhere else has 2,000 and everybody's doing fine and only 10 kids transfer out during the school year. That's apples and oranges. So I wish you would fight. Equality does not always mean equity. We need to fight for the specific needs of the students that we serve and not just see them as a number.
Absolutely. And I agree with that. We had to fight. Right now, Westlake has, I think, 8 counselors, 4 administrators. Oh God, it was about 25 on the administrative staff. It is still not enough. One of the things that we had to fight tooth and nail for was mental health counselors. Fighting tooth and nail for campus security officers. I just had a call about staffing their parking lot during the day. Because there's so many kids, you have to monitor that parking lot. Yes, we have cameras, we can see everything, but there's nothing like a body that can help make sure that kids aren't leaving, kids aren't coming, just securing our parking lots. One of the things that you'll see, as many people know on this call, in January, we are welcoming 4 new board members onto the board. And 2 of them, but at least 1 more woman of color will be on the board. And also, as we fill Ms. Dean's seat, hopefully the person that'll be in that seat will be someone who is from South County. I agree that we even need more staff. One of the things that a parent called me about was mental health capacity, like mental health supports for our children. And I was telling her about all of the programs that we offer, and she didn't know. And I had a conversation with someone from the county office, actually someone from one of the counseling centers through the South Fulton Mental Health Collaborative. And they told me, they said, we're having a hard time even staffing counselors in our business. So I agree with you, Ms. Flowers. We need more schools, we need more supports. And as we go into these next couple of years, really making sure that all because it works on one side of the county doesn't mean it works on our side of the county. And that's something that I've told the principals to be very vocal about. If you need something, not being afraid to say what you need. I'll give you an example. Westlake got, I want to say during September, they got like 5 more teachers. And where it used to be, and these were teachers who came from other schools because Westlake's population was really big. But all of our schools have a different ecosystem when you go in them, and what one school needs is not what another one needs. So I definitely agree with that. And as we go into talking about, we just approved our last capital plan last year or the year before. Mr. Tatum was on that committee. And I think we have 2 new schools coming in South Fulton, maybe 3. No, it's 3. I'm sorry, it's 3 new schools. As we think about the next capital plan, that's some of the conversations we've been having. I've gotten lots of calls where people saying, take the old Westlake and just expand it for the new Westlake. And what that does is then you open back up the zone and you have kids who do not live near the area. My contention is that we should take the old Westlake building. We can't use it for students anymore because it's already been taken off, but using it as a space, a meeting space for South Fulton, for Fulton County schools, where people can have large meetings and we don't have to use taxpayers' money to rent out hotels to have these big district meetings. So that's something that's been on my radar. When people say, well, why don't we just take the old Westlake and do X, Y, and Z? You're just making it even bigger, and you're inviting more people who don't live closer to Westlake into the school, and you're just going to compound issues. So I definitely agree with that.
Thank you.
Councilman Rao, you have your hand up.
That was from before. I don't have any additional questions.
Okay.
As always, I'll put my email into the chat on November 8th. If they come out a little bit earlier, I will post them on my social media, but I'll also send them out to my email list and they'll be on our Fulton County website, but I don't anticipate they will be out any earlier. As I wanted to leave with this, on November 11th is Veterans Day. All of our schools have programs. Please come pick a school and please come and see them. Also, we have Westlake High School that has a game this week against Campbell High School. We've had a great season, so please come out. It is senior night along with Langston Hughes, which is undefeated, and Creekside High School. So thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Ivory, I see your hand up.
Yes, I don't know if I've asked this question before or not, but I am plagued in the mornings and in the afternoon with the traffic from going to and from Westlake. And the traffic speed by here, and the buses absolutely come by here going more than 35 miles an hour. And you would think that the drivers of all people will be adhering to, the regulation, but they're not. What can I do? Because if I have a morning doctor's appointment, it is so hard to get out of my driveway. I have to almost get out my car and plead to set like let the drivers coming by know that I'm trying to get somewhere and in a hurry.
Absolutely.
It's a nuisance.
And my daughter actually attends Westlake, and I was just telling, every morning there's a wreck over there. There is minor, major, usually a minor wreck coming from Van Diver to Enon to Westlake. One of the things that would be helpful, and I'll reach out to Councilwoman Gums, is seeing if we can get a police officer that can just direct traffic over there. Even coming from the other end, this is another indication that we knew kids were out of zone. The line from Douglas County turning down Campbellton Road to Westlake. And so we really need officers there to direct traffic. And also, especially at that Van Diver and that Enon and that Van Diver and Union Road. So I definitely agree. And it is hellacious there in the mornings for sure. And we don't know.
Public Works is on the call, so maybe he can speak to that. I know I spoke with Councilwoman Gums. I don't think she's on the line, but I think they're looking at a roundabout, I think I heard, for that area. But I think they're looking at something short term as well. And hopefully I don't know if Mr. Rusan has an update about what they may be doing in the interim, but there's been quite a bit of discussion around that, as well as I've requested us to look at Union and Hamilton Road.
Thank you for that. And one of the things that, if you look at Sandtown now, Sandtown Middle School, it's 2 lane, but right there in front of the schools, it goes into 4 lanes, or there's a turning lane. A turning lane might even work. So thank you, Councilwoman Rao and Councilwoman Gums, for addressing that.
Well, are there any other questions for Ms. Warren? Well, thank you so much for that update. I am happy to hear that Westlake is doing so well. Everybody wants to attend, but as we know, that can't happen. But with that and talking about traffic, we're gonna ask Mr. Francois Roussan to give us an update on the projects that he's working on.
Yes, good evening, everybody. First, I would like to talk about the changes in public works. As you know, since the department transitioned from Fulton County in October 2018, the department has partnered with Jacobs to provide the daily operations on the right-of-way maintenance and the traffic operations for the city. As of October 1st of this year, the department has executed a contract with Brightview. They are responsible for the right-of-way maintenance of over 200 miles in the city. And also the department has executed an agreement with Low Engineers to provide the traffic operations and also the project management of all the capital projects and all the T-Plus projects. And as far as the right-of-way is concerned, the Brightview has completed the first iteration of all the roads and the city. They did District 1 and October 10th and October 24th of last month. The next iteration will begin next week. They told me next week from the 7th to the 11th, they will do most of the roads in District 1. And the cycle is every other week. So every 2 weeks, they go back and do it again and again. So that is as far as the right-of-way is concerned. In terms of the traffic operations, the Low Engineers responsible for the traffic engineering, that means if there's any review, if there's a new development that is coming up, they are helping the community development regulatory affairs with the review of all the plans. If there's also any traffic study that needs to be done. And just to follow up with what Councilwoman Rao was just saying, I met with them yesterday, and as of next week on the 11th, on the week of the 14th, they promised me that they will conduct some speed studies. They're looking at several locations where they're going to collect some traffic counts. Some citizens have expressed some speeding issues throughout District 1. They're looking at the Sandtown Center. There's a lot of roads in there that needs some attention in terms of speeding. They will do some traffic counts. They're also looking at Boat Rock Road. They will do some traffic counts on Boat Rock Road so that they can come up with a plan of action. They also will be looking at Wallace Road. And also they will be looking at the intersection that Councilwoman Rao just mentioned, which is Vandiver and Innon Road. And the idea is to, number one, look at the numbers and see how we can, number one is to look at the numbers. Number two, to assess it to see if there is an issue. And number three, whatever the issue is, so we can resolve it. So as you can see, we're going to be very busy. We're trying to do everything prior to Thanksgiving, because after Thanksgiving, with the holidays and all that, we didn't want to wait for the holidays. As far as the project management, they're also looking at all the projects that we currently have on the capital projects. And for example, I'm going to go down the list. I'm looking at the New Hope Road sidewalks. We're looking at construction let date, that's when we begin the procurement process so that we can award the project. We're looking at April of next year. The goal is by December to certify all the right of way that we need on that project. So far, we seem to be on schedule to do that and to let the project in April of next year. In terms of Fairburn Road, as you probably know, Fairburn Road is on the T+2 list. The idea is to finalize the right-of-way acquisition, all the parcels that we need. Currently, we need about 8 parcels to let that project. We already require 6 parcels, and we may have to condemn 2 parcels that are currently on their way. The goal is to finalize the right-of-way acquisition by this month and to let that project in December. And once that project is let and awarded, as you know, the money is in T+1. I'm sorry, T+2, so we'll be ready to go. Same thing with Denford Road sidewalks. Currently, we advertise, there is an invitation to bid. We are working on it, and I'm pretty sure if it's not advertised by now, but before the end of the month, it will be advertised. And we hope to open the bid and award that contract in early next year. But the goal is really to start construction in spring of next year. Another project that we kind of inherit from from the Fulton CID. There's the intersection of Cascade Road at Fulton Industrial. This is a 2 type of improvements we're doing. We're putting some left turn lane on Cascade Road. At the same time, we're putting some sidewalks. Currently, we're having some issues with GDOT. We really haven't finalized what we call the agreement to move forward with to finalize the design, because we truly believe that the impact of that intersection is not only at Cascade FIB. We also need to take that project a little longer to extend the footprint of the project to Westgate, which is the next intersection. And if you are very familiar with the location, you probably notice there's always a lot of traffic coming out of Westgate, and there's always a queue preventing people from turning into Westgate. So we're also looking at that. As far as Campbellton Road, Stonewall Tail, if I'm not mistaken, we were supposed to open the bids this afternoon. I'm not sure whether it will occur or not, but the idea is to award that project, to finalize it and present it to mayor and council so that they can award to the lowest bidder. And the target date for construction to begin is February of next year. And lastly, we're looking at Inland Road over Camp Creek tributary. Currently, we have acquired 3 parcels. We need 4 parcels. We need 4 parcels total, just so there's only 1 remaining. The final plans are complete. So we're looking at construction to begin April of next year as well. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, ooh wee.
Yes, that's some very good news. And again, as I mentioned, as far as the other traffic studies, there's a lot of traffic studies that the department working with law engineers will be doing for the next 2 weeks. And the idea, and really on behalf of the department, I have to apologize. During the transition, this is something that should have occurred a month, 2 months prior to. But as you know, when you transition from one vendor to another, it's very difficult. Usually you don't get what you need, especially the one leaving the job doesn't feel like working, and the one coming in. So it's water under the bridge. But now we are on track and we are moving forward on these projects. So as soon as I receive the reports, I will be happy to share it. Number one, I'm going to share it with the subdivisions and inform them on the next step. And once we share that information, then most likely we will have a public meeting to let the whole subdivision knows what's going to happen and whether they concur with the recommendation. Then we go before mayor and council for guidance and approval.
Well,
So
you mentioned you mentioned the sidewalks on Danforth, so you're saying from Cascade Road all the way up to where they connect on Danforth?
Yes, to the city, yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. Rusan? Does anybody
Yes.
have? Go ahead.
I just
Good
wanted an update.
afternoon.
Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Davis?
I was just wondering about the schedule for the New Hope sidewalks. Is the design,
It is currently, the New Hope is in final design, and we hope to certify the right of way next month. And we're looking at construction to let that project to construction spring of next year.
thank you.
Pretty cool. I heard someone else, Miss Marbury. Go
Good
ahead.
afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you, Rusan. Rusan, this is Juanita on Boat Rock Road. Good evening.
Good evening, how you doing tonight?
I just want to thank you publicly for the cooperation that you've shown me in the whole process of trying to get the survey done on Boat Rock Road. Appreciate you, okay?
You're welcome, thank you.
Okay, what date are we looking at, Rusan, for the survey, for the traffic survey on Boat Rock?
Now, they told me the week of the 14th, the Monday, let me see, not the one coming up, the one coming up is the 7th. So
Right.
they're looking at the week after, the 14th to the 18th. And remember,
Okay.
as I mentioned, they're doing 3 or 4 different locations. So I
Okay.
cannot tell you exactly, but one thing I do know, based on conversation I had with them, they have to do it for the whole week. So
Okay.
if you miss one day, you probably will notice them the next day.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. That's perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And as soon as I have the numbers, I'll be happy to share those numbers with you. And then once we have the numbers, then that's when we turn it over to the engineers, and they have a laundry list of different scenarios, how to address it. Some costs,
Okay.
some are not expensive, some are very expensive. But we're not going to worry about that now. Let's take it a step at a time.
All right. Thank you so much, Rusan. I'm looking forward to getting it completed. To bring everyone up to date on Boat Rock Road, I know we've been talking about the problems with the traffic, the speeding, and the 18-wheeler trucks. Well, I did a petition, me and another resident did a petition on Boat Rock Road to get a buy-in from the residents so we could try to go forward in trying to get some relief on Boat Rock Road. So I know the people on New Hope Road will be happy about that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, are there any other questions for Mr. Rusan? Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Rusan. You know, you have an open invitation. You're always welcome. But thank you for that update. Before I go to Councilwoman Rao, Stephanie, you're on the line. I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about the upcoming community activity that we are trying to have.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I just wanted to talk about our clothing donation that we're doing to help the fire marshal. Fire Marshal Dinger does the clothing donation every year. So wanted people to please come out November 12th, or if you don't come out, you can make arrangements to give your donation to me or someone else so that we can help contribute to her cause that she does every year. So we're doing it next Saturday, November 12th at the Publix shopping center. So we do want new clothing for all ages. If you would please do so. Someone asked me if they wanted to make a donation. If you do want to do that, we'll be happy to pick up the clothes for you, give you a receipt that shows the donation that you're giving.
Now,
Any questions?
Harvey or Donald, can you all show the flyer online, but it is to donate new coats and hats and gloves for adults and children. And one of the things we do need are volunteers to help receive everything next Saturday. I volunteered, but I think I'm the only one so far, and I know we're all busy, but I'll be there. And if there are some others that want to join us to collect as people bring the donations. Is that correct, Stephanie?
Yes. Thank you all so much, from 10 to 2 in the public shopping center. Much appreciated. Got any questions? Give me a call, or you could contact Debbie as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councilman Rao, you are up.
Thank you. As you heard, Rusan delivered a lot of great news about a lot of capital projects that are coming to our area. I wanted to highlight some additional things that I wanted to make you aware of. Had a tour with the Greater Home Builders of Atlanta on yesterday, in partnership with Stephanie Hudson, who we've been doing that for the last 3 years. It was very well attended with about 40 attendees. In addition, there has been a lot of questions about the Wallace Road project. And in my newsletter last week, I gave an update of kind of where things stand with that. That project has changed some from when it originally came to the Sandtown Community Association. It is now all single family, no duplexes any longer, but still cottage homes targeting seniors 55 and older. That's one of the things I've heard repeatedly for people who are ready to downsize and don't want to leave the area. And so that particular project is still going through the rezoning. They haven't come before the council at this time. We've tried to just really work to try to address the concerns raised by residents. There is a tour on Monday. If you're interested in attending, you can come to Decision Point, park your car, and board a bus. We're going to go see some of the homes that Precision Development, Inc. is doing. They build primarily in Atlanta, Brookhaven, and in Marietta. And so that tour will have us look at those various sites. Again, this is a custom home builder. These are meant to be high-end luxury homes. Even the senior housing, I think the senior cottages, they start at $500,000 again. And the single families are projected to be in the high six starting. And those are the homes proposed for Wallace Road. Wanted to let you know that the District 1 quarterly town hall meeting will be held on November 17th at Decision Point. We'll be there from 6 to 7:30, giving you an update on a number of things. For those who are here, you may hear some more of the things that Rusan talked about, but we'll be talking about other things to include updates about what's going on at the Recreation Center, which is undergoing a renovation as we speak. To date, we have installed air conditioning. Previously, there was no air conditioner in the gym in Sandtown Rec Center. It has been installed. The building has been waterproof, and it's being bid out now. So contractors who are interested, they're going through that process now. And I think their site visit before submission, if they want to come look, get a second take at the building, is next week. So looking forward to those renovations at Sandtown Rec Center. It's anticipated, hopefully, that will be, April, May timeframe, that all of that will be complete. It also has a new roof installed on it. And one of the things we're going to talk about at the town hall is to get input on a mural that will be on the exterior wall of the Recreation Center. So start thinking about that and bring your creativity to the town hall meeting. We also have undergone redistricting. City council district lines have changed. As Ms. Warren said, our districts are required to be equal, and this is generated as a result of the census data. So every 10 years, the lines could potentially change. All the districts should have basically equal population. I pushed into District 2 a little bit, and I picked up on the far end near Anatole and the apartment community past Cascade, Palmetto, you know, past Food and Industrial on the left. Those two communities, the Anatole community that Dan Bryant is building out now, that's now a part of District 1. And I picked up one subdivision right off of Union Road, the first subdivision on the right as you head to Westlake. Those were the only changes to District 1 as it relates to redistricting. Wanted you to know, if you had noticed, Camp Fulton Way has been repaved and it looks really nice. If you've gone to pick up any food in the area, you probably noticed that. And one of the things I wanted to know, because you've probably heard it, we do have a movie studio coming to District 1 off of Westlake Parkway. So we'll get a little lights, camera action other than just the filming we have seen on Boat Rock. We're really excited about that. It's under construction, so it'll be a while before you know, we'll have anything where we're really talking that up, but I did want to make you aware of that. There is a video that should be released maybe in the next week that the Community Development Department highlighted. We had an event at the Southwest Arts Center where they highlighted development projects all across the city, and there is a lot underway. And so they're preparing a video so people who didn't get a chance to attend will be able to see some of those projects across the city. And as you say, I mean, we're growing quickly. We were named by Redfin last month as the fastest growing city in the state. And we're just trying to keep up with all that growth, but a lot of great projects that are coming, a lot of investment we're making in the infrastructure. Unfortunately, it's going to be rough for the next couple of years, but we have some great projects. And I'll take questions at this time.
Ivory, I see your hand up.
Yes, Councilwoman Arao, about the work that's being done at the Sandtown gym, recreation facility there. My question is it being, taking an old piece of something and kind of polish it up some, or are we going to get a facility that is worthy of this community? Because it's been patched up in the past. And I just think that we need a first-rate facility. So can you please tell me about what is being done?
I can speak to, and maybe Rusan can speak to the general scope of work. There has been some major work done already. Like I said, the roof has already been placed. We put an HVAC system. I want to say that was maybe $75,000 to $100,000 that's been added. I don't know why that facility was built without an air conditioner, but it was. We've addressed that. Like I said, they're collecting bids right now in terms of some of the renovations. Some of the things I know just off the top of my head, of course, painting of the gym, the floors being replaced in the gym, floors replaced throughout the building. I think the only room that I heard that they may not be doing something in is in that back room, that colorful room floor, and that may change. I don't know, but those are some things that I'm aware of. The reality is, I think y'all know this, we didn't probably do what we should have as a community in terms of making sure the county could have done better by some of these facilities. Every time we go in and renovate, we are finding the expenses to be considerably more than anticipated. And it's also been affected by the supply chain. But we're committed to doing the work. As you know, in fact, we probably get complaints, but we just got to go through the process. We have renovations also occurring at Welcome Mall. We just had to approve additional 2 million in change orders again, because once you start opening up stuff, you will always find something with a renovation. So,
Well, I guess I was thinking of a facility comparable to Welcome All, because this is a economically upper, it's so many upper, what I want to say, price range homes and families here. And I think that we should have something a bit more representative than what's been up there.
what I can say is that we are making renovations to that facility. The assessment for the Cliftondale Art Center, the recommendation came back from a consultant that we need to probably demolish and rebuild there. So there is going to be plans to redo that building from the ground up. So, some things we'll be keeping, some things we won't. And you'll hear more about that as we go, but there are no additional plans right now to do anything addition other than renovating that existing facility. We are going to, like I said, demolish the Cliftondale Art Center and build it new. And meanwhile, we just bought land on, and it's out of our area, but I want to share this because I want you to understand that we got to look at things from the whole city perspective. We're building police headquarters on Old National Highway. We bought the land already, so the planning for that and all of that'll be happening over the next year or so. Likewise, we bought 50 acres on Cascade Palmetto where the fire department will be housed. So it's so much going on in this city, really exciting stuff. I've been out here 25 years and I can tell you it's been more done in these last 5 years than the 20 before that. So just be patient. But we do have plans to continue to build and make improvement. And we're also looking at enhancements to our existing parks. You're going to hear more. We already started that park master planning process. We're actually moving towards adoption. We're waiting for the new parks director to come on board. I think he starts next week. And so continue to look out for updates, and we'll continue to share in our newsletter, me and Councilwoman Gums, to keep you informed.
So I think I'm hearing you saying basically you're just going to follow the same footprint that's up there and just upgrade it rather than
at that facility.
We don't have a swimming pool or anything like that.
Yeah, that is correct as it stands now.
Thank you.
But the good thing is there is a swimming pool at Welcome All, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it may be,
that's at least 5 or 6 miles away, okay? And for some people, it's even farther away than that.
Well, Miss Ivory, again, for a city of 5 years, I think we're doing pretty good to do some of this. And I think when we start planning for Cliftondale, we need to bring all those ideals to bear, because again, we're going to be starting from scratch with that design, figuring out what should be there, what it might look like. I know in the park master plan, there are several areas that call for splash pads and different things in the park. And so we got to figure out how we're going to finance all those things. So again, we can't look at it just for one area. When we're taking on these projects, we have to look more holistic than that. In addition to making a lot of improvements in our fire stations, because they need a lot of work too. But thank you for your question. Are there any others?
Well, with that, are there any other questions that anybody has for anyone on the call? It is 7:50, so we are on time. So if there are no other questions, then I want to thank all of you for attending the meeting. This has been a good conversation about the schools and all the things that are happening in our area in the new city. And we will post this recording on our website if you want to go back and listen to it or direct someone else to it. And finally, just remember the coat drive on November 12th. I'll see you on that Saturday between 10 and 2. So with that, I hope you all have a wonderful evening and thank you so much for participating.
Thank you.
Good night,
All
all.
right. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night.